Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs. QuickBooks Labs has evolved, and we've now taken on your feedback, and now we're a monthly podcast/panel show designed to still be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software, but also with the added opportunity to get some extra info from the great minds in the industry that we have on our panel. And then we also get to talk to the audience as we do each and every week. We aim to still be there for the first Wednesday of each month. Didn't quite work out this time around, but we'll aim again for next month. At which point we hang around these microphones to talk all about the latest news, tips, and tricks in the world of QuickBooks and accountancy. And boy, do we have some stuff to talk about in this one. As one of your hosts, I'm Patrick, a chartered accountant, a owner of a accounting firm called Bofix, a QuickBooks certified UK trainer with fancy new logo, and that QuickBooks chap on the internet. Joining me is a panel of experts, and I'll let them introduce themselves one by one. Charlie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, hello. My name is Charlie Khan. I am a chartered accountant based in West London. Long-time QuickBooks user. Desktop days back to probably version 2006 or 5 or something on the desktop, and then in the cloud for however many years. And I have a Facebook group. For those of you on Facebook using QuickBooks, just look for QBOA user group and come and join the group and join us on Facebook.
Fantastic. And Johann, do you want to go next?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name's Johann. I'm the Group Managing Director of the On Point Accounting Group. We are strategic partners with QuickBooks, 100% QuickBooks users, and have been using the product for several years now.
Excellent. We have a wonderful YouTube channel. And going forward, then, let's go for the agenda for today. We've got to go back to QuickBooks Advanced and talk about, well, what did we miss and what are our thoughts a week or what is it now, 3 weeks before? It's absolutely flown by. And we're also going to be issuing a little PSA warning about some nasty little emails that may have come into your email account. So make sure we keep on top of that. We're going to be talking about ZeroGo. Did they go the extra mile? Or should they have gone back to the drawing board? We'll have opinions on that one. I can already see some opinions coming there. We've got our old friend Sage being a little bit naughty. We'll see what they've happened there. And we'll finally finish off with a bit of research that's happened over Accounting Web and have our thoughts on that one. So before we get into it, let's figure out how it all works. We are live to the world at our regular time. Well, we're at 5 o'clock now. We should be 4:30. That is 10:30 US Central Time. So if you're listening back LA time, then why not join us live? Just like we've got with Mike there in the audience, and there's others there as well. And with that, you get the opportunity to ask some burning questions and keep us honest as we go along. Furthermore, we're now live around the podcasting services around the globe, so feel free to subscribe on the podcasting service of your choice. Our agenda for today's show has already been covered and done and dusted, so let's go straight into our first section, which is all about QuickBooks Advanced. So before we go any further, let's just go around the room. How much have you been able to use QuickBooks Advanced in the last couple of weeks or so since it's been launched? Charlie, do you want to go first?
Oh, mine's very quick and easy. I haven't used it.
Okay, fair play.
I know you guys have been sort of beta testing and all sorts of things. I wasn't on any beta testing for it. So, but it's got some lovely features. So I wait to hear how you guys have thought since the last time we talked about this. But
so it's not necessarily a beta as in the traditional invite-only beta. It is available to everyone to use. So
were you not in a beta environment earlier?
Not for this one, no. Literally go to QBOA, start creating a new license. You'll have the option for Advanced, which confused all the training people today as we tried to do a training webinar for QuickBooks, and everyone's like, what's this Advanced one? Johann, how much have you been using it so far? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been playing with it, testing it, and basically, I think it's one of those things that needs a bit of thought putting into it and a bit of forward planning and a bit of brainstorming so that you can really maximize the benefits of it. So I've certainly been dabbling with a test license, and we're getting ready to roll it out across our group of businesses and to use it. But it's definitely one of those things, you don't just click subscribe and start using it. You need to think through the features, how you're going to do the categories, the locations, the classes, what workflows do you want to be happening, the reports that we're going to come on to in a minute. Like, accountants aren't great for out-of-the-box thinking. And some of these features require a bit of out-of-the-box thinking just to inspire you to really get the best value out of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the problem you guys have got, and we're slightly different in our approach, is that you can't put your practice onto it yet because you're using what you should be doing, using the practice license. Like every accountant should be out there. We're daft and we're paying for a license, so and we've got the opportunity, and we've upgraded ours. So as I've kind of put a couple of clients onto it at the moment just to play around with, and that I haven't even told them, to be honest. It's kind of, we put them on there and we're going to be seeing if it works out for them. I found the most kind of benefit from kind of playing around with it with our practice itself, because that's where we're trying to get all of those lovely little advancements and automations in straight away, so then we can start building that up and moving it forward. Varied success. We'll go over that in a minute of what's worked and what hasn't. I've been on that feedback forum quite a few times, trying to get that over to and trying to look at them. But yeah, so far so good. So as Johann alluded to, then one thing we did, in fact, let me just share screen. If you joined us on the last impromptu video that we did, what was it, 3 weeks ago, was it, Johann, something like that, around that time?
19th of July when it came out live.
Yeah. Perfect. So if you were with us for that, you would have known us go through in detail each one of the sections that I've got up on screen now, and we went through each one of those ones. One thing, I don't realize how we missed it. Is it actually on there? I suppose it's greater insight, isn't it? Is that what it would be? Yeah. So under greater insight was the reporting section. So we're not going to go through every one of those sections again, because if you do want to go for that, we did a great video on it. I highly recommend you go over to that one. But if we go into an advanced file now, go to reports, you'll notice in the top right hand corner there's this new option here called create new report, and from here we click on the button, and unlike we've ever seen before, now we get this new custom report builder. Even there's an option to start from a wizard or just start completely from scratch and playing as we go along. And you'll notice up here, it's kind of alluding to what is the kind of final step for it, which is pivot table and bringing in the pivot table and everything that goes with it. So the idea would be we start in a creation wizard, try and find something that's going to be relevant to us. And you can see there's a lot of options here. And as we keep scrolling down, there's more and more and more and more and more and more options. And the list just keeps going and going and going and going. And the idea then is we can just pick one, and then it would generate that information for us. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any data on this particular file, so it's kind of useless in terms of having to play around with it. But this is the one area we didn't look at. Now, what's everyone's first impressions and thoughts of this? And kind of, I kind of want to know more than anything is what the use case scenario could be for it. Who wants to go first?
I think I only really discovered it properly this morning, and I had to double take and log out and log into another license to make sure it wasn't a button I've missed somewhere else on Plus or something like that. But no, it is only in advanced. And I think when you've got the larger clients which need more bespoke reports for their board meetings, their team meetings, where you only want snapshots of certain information, you don't want to give them a whole P&L or something. I think it's going to be a really good use case there. And I do wonder if it's going to start challenging softwares like Futurely, SIF Analytics, stuff like that, where I think it's a long way off from that yet. But is this step one in towards that journey?
Yeah, definitely. Charlie, have you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I basically, I agree with what Johann said. I think, hopefully they are going in the direction of trying to build in what you get from SIFT and Futurely and things like that, because that would be incredibly powerful to have built into the product. I mean, QuickBooks has always been much, much better at reporting than Xero and Sage and all the others. And to have the power of Excel, which is essentially what the Futurely is and all the rest of it do, but in a pretty environment, to have all of that built into QuickBooks in the advanced product, I think would be amazing. It's it looks, it'd be nice to test this on a file with some data, obviously, but it looks like it could be very, very powerful indeed. So for the bigger clients, I think it would be enormously advantageous.
Definitely. And if you think back, go for it, John.
Do we think this is the start of seeing data deer coming in?
Oh, do you think that's what they're going to use it for?
Do we think this is what's powering that?
Yeah, yeah.
Data deer was meant to be the big buy it up, turn it off, and plug it into QuickBooks Advanced in the US. So is this an early stage of that?
I think that's a good point. But in the US, though, they got Fathom, haven't they? So I don't know if that's. I don't know.
But are they not getting rid of that for data deer? Is that not the idea? I thought they were doing that.
Oh, okay.
Possibly, I don't know.
Oh,
that would make sense.
Starting all the rumors now.
We're gonna have to get ourselves some tin hats, and we're doing this going forward. No, but I think that's a really good point there, and I think the fact that Fathom was always included in the state side of things, and because you can kind of see this is definitely coming from the US, because down here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see billing state, which is the whole American side of things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they've just copied this over from Advanced America, so it is definitely something that's in there, and they're obviously using it. So we'll see. My biggest problem I've had so far is just finding data to make use of it so far. There's definitely going to be some great opportunities there, but I've just been struggling to find those kind of use cases for it at this point in time to really push it. But yeah, looking forward to having a play around with this in more detail. And there was one other feature that we'd forgotten about, wasn't there? And I think I remember it now with you guys talking. It was the Excel feature, the idea that we can bring the data into Excel and going for that. Now, I've not been able to test that. I'm on a Mac, and I think it's Windows only at this point in time. But that could be something to be worthwhile testing as well. Bringing in Sage had that back in the day, didn't they? That was their kind of big thing. It makes sense. Personally, I actually like or prefer it to go to Google Sheets and go through there. I think it's a better system and way of doing it. But yeah, we'll see how that kind of goes if we can get our hands and start playing around with that as well. Awesome. So if we kind of go back to the features that are there, is there any bits on here that you've kind of want to talk about in a little bit more detail? Because there's one area in here that I certainly want to highlight of having a play around with. And
well, the interesting one for me is a lot of these things. Well, the interesting one I think is the backup and restore. I think for a lot. Well, I mean, there are still a lot of people who are afraid of the cloud and afraid of losing control of their data. So I think it satisfies those people who manage to convince themselves that they are better at managing their data than people whose job it is 24/7 to look after data. But there we go. I'm not one of those. I'm sure none of us are, but there are plenty of people out there who hold that view. But the other more interesting thing is, supposing, for example, a company stops trading. Now, at the moment, you want to stop paying the license fee, close it down. I think you still get access. I think it's free for 1 year, but it's retained for a number of years afterwards, but then you have to pay to get it back again. If you can download it in some way and save that, and then have the means of looking at it again through this, that would be great. I'm not quite sure how that will work. But the other thing is, if you lose a client to another accountant, and clients do move around between firms, and this has been one of the issues that I've asked them about for years, and particularly when I think they've stopped their desktop app, haven't they? They've stopped the desktop app for QuickBooks Online. When they had that, one of the things I suggested was allow a read-only data file to be downloaded and used on the desktop in read-only formats, so that they're not cannibalizing their licenses, because you wouldn't be able to add or edit any data. But it means then that if you lose a client to somebody else, you download the file, keep it on your desktop or on your server, run it only locally through the app, and you've then got permanent access. And if any questions come along later on, or the client decides to sue you later on, you have got a copy of the data as it was when you handed it over, which is what you would have with any traditional desktop system. Now, if they have that kind of thing here, that we can then, even if we have to upload it back into the cloud, into some, only for QBOA accountant users, pro advisor users to use, I think that'd be quite useful.
Yeah, I can definitely see the use case of that one.
And it's not a day-to-day need, but it's a technical, safe, kind of, belt and braces safety. I
mean, we always use the export data function up on screen now. That's always how and it's just, it's not ideal. There is issues with it, but it's just a quick, easy way of doing it.
Absolutely.
And interesting, I was having an argument with someone on Facebook group, and I don't think it's your group. I think it was the official one, about the whole backing up and everything else. And I was told that I don't know what cloud accounting is and all this, that, and the other, and everything. A load of mud was being thrown at me for it. But the bit that I was trying to put forward to him is it's not what we believe. It's not what our belief of what is useful for the cloud. It's about helping clients and educating clients, and also giving the opportunity for clients to have that bit of a comfort blanket, isn't it? And having the opportunity to bring that in. And I think you're right. I think that's where the backup one is quite a big thing for them. Is it worth an extra £70 a month or 50 quid on top of their fees a month? That's the bit where it's difficult to justify, isn't it? For just the backup solution, is definitely a conversation. What about you, Johann?
Yeah, I mean, I entered the accounting world at a time when cloud was reliable enough to not worry about backups.
Yeah,
it's never bothered me. We've never run backups. It's nice to have it there as an option, as a backup, as it were. But yeah, it's certainly not something I plan on using in my business. But I've got some clients who were nervous about moving to the cloud and are now more open to it because they have now got a backup and restore feature.
Yeah, but they're not using it because they're a risk of losing data, are they? They're using it because it's a restore point for them. Like that's where traditionally it was, wasn't it? It was, they've let a junior on the go off and do a load of transactions. They've made a complete mess of it. It's okay. We'll restore back to day XYZ because we're confident it's right. That's where the backup mentality comes from, isn't it? And that's what I'm trying to remind people of. It's not that they're scared of the data being lost in the cloud. It's more about giving them that restore option, isn't it?
Yeah. Back then, though, when you had to restore it to a point, so I worked in a company where they used iScala, which is crap. But
makes Xero look good.
The amount of times you'd get an email saying, everyone leave iScala, someone's made a mess, we're having to restore it. And this was across a multi office business across the UK. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Someone's made a mess. And back then, though, to undo that mess, you literally had to reverse everything out manually. You had to go in, work it all out. Is there such a need for backup and such a need for a restore point when we can void and delete stuff as easily as we can in cloud accounting now? Which I know there's accountants and bookkeepers out there who do not believe the feature of void or delete belongs in any accounting software. Because the correct and proper way to do it would be to do a reversing journal. But with those features, I question the need for a restore point as required as it used to be 10 years ago.
Yeah, completely agree on that, to be fair. But, it's changing habits of a lifetime, isn't it? It's trying to get them to go in and understand that. I must admit, like all the clients I know that kind of had that safety blanket and was waiting out for it, they'll move on and they won't restore again. It'll be a thing of the past. It's harks on to my grandparents who were insistent that I had to get them a TV that could record using the record functionality. And when I went to speak to them the other day, all they ever do is tell me how they use iPlayer. It's the best thing that's ever happened. So they just want that safety blanket. So yeah. Right. Okay. The one bit I want to bring up, because it is a little bit frustrating, because this was the bit where I was so excited about getting people to jump onto QuickBooks Advance and an opportunity to sell the licenses more and get more bites of the cherry and everything else with it. And it was all to do with automate workflows. So just to refresh everyone what that means, within QuickBooks Advance, we now have this fancy new workflow section where the idea will be that we can put some automation in there. So if you do X, then QuickBooks can do Y. Great example, as you can see on there, is the approval solution. So the idea that you can put a draft bill into place and it won't get paid until it's finally been approved by XYZ. Great in theory, and that is also one of the ones where Xero does have an opportunity to be a better fit for certain clients, because the approval can be make or break to how they work. And having this option here does give us an opportunity to bring it in. But I'm just so frustrated with how lackluster this is working at the moment. I know we're still technically in beta, and I know there's kind of bits to be done, but this is what's in America. So if it's not working in America, then how will we ever expect it to work over here? And the approval system is just broken, in my opinion. It's not an approval button. It's the approvee goes in and saves the transaction, and that will then suddenly magically make it to be approved. But there's no real way of being able to set who that approvee is. And it's all supposed to do with roles, but roles doesn't have anything to do with approval or not approval. Wow. It seems to just broken.
So does that mean that anybody with access to the purchase ledger can go in and approve a bill?
Yeah, exactly. And as accountants, we're completely broken because as accountants, we're the highest tier. So we'll go in, if we just make a save of, say we wanted to go in and change like the date or something, or change the VAT rate, which we probably would do for clients. We go in, do that, we're then approving it.
Oh,
and that breaks the whole process of the approval solution. And then it's just limited in what we can do. Personally, one of the other great features Zero's got is when you set a new customer up in Zero, you can set it to automatically send the Go Cardless link to them, so that then they can get themselves signed up to Go Cardless. We said it on the show, didn't we? Yeah, and that was my first reaction to, right, let's get that built, let's test that out, let's go. There's no option of doing anything like that. Doesn't talk to any third-party solutions that's in there, which I think is a massive shame.
Do we think that's because this is a soft launch and it's not, the third parties have had as much privy to this as you and I and Charlie have, and everyone else in the UK, and actually maybe by March next year we'll have a QuickBooks Advanced product which third parties are now integrating with at the next QuickBooks Connect?
My worry of that is that the SDK, so the tools that these third parties use to build their applications, to build their integrations, have no element or no context to any of the advanced features that are in there.
Right.
So that kind of gives us a bit of a red flag in terms of they just won't be able to build that functionality. Because our friends over at Cresco, if this could have worked, this could be a solution where they could have set their payment building much better and could have opportunities for them, but that's not there as well. So I think that's a real big missed opportunity. And the if options in here are just lacking as well. And also it's broken. You can set things up, they're not quite working. That's beta testing. We get that. That's a soft launch. That will fix over time. But yeah, I'm really disappointed at this moment in time of how that workflow is, because I think if they've nailed this bit, for me personally, this is a bit where we can push this solution much quicker to more people, because then you are saving people time. You're giving opportunity for clients to go out there and make more use of it. Yeah. Cool. Anything else people want to talk about the advanced bit before we move on to not quite an advanced product?
No, overall, I've not played with the workflow part yet. You've obviously done a lot more work with that. But from a reporting point of view, and for those clients that like the backup and restore, I think this is a really positive step forward. And I don't think, if you look at the players in the SME cloud accounting space, I don't think any of them have got anything that really rivals it yet. That is cloud-based. Yes, Sage has got some solutions that are desktop, but I don't believe that cloud-based solution is even where QBO Advanced Day 1 is really. I suppose, yeah. The way I'm looking at it is, this is chapter 1 of its journey in the UK, and it's a good start. It's a really good start in my view.
How much have they made the advances on the user role permissions? Last time I looked at this, it was very, very limited additional features over what we got in Plus.
So you manage users, we now have a whole new section for roles.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. Like, we're looking at it now internally from a point of view of who can raise invoices, who can put on expenses. Like, all of a sudden, it's going to save me time, because up until QBO Advanced, I didn't let my team into our QuickBooks.
All right.
But
Oh, see, but right. But presumably the accountant user on a client is it that they have access to everything, but it's only
Yeah.
through active user to a particular.
Yeah, this is
Right.
just
I'll follow.
internal users on your business.
And can you edit all those things? Is it? Can you see easily sort of change exactly kind of the granularity of the permissions, or is it still very limited?
So it's editable to a certain degree.
Okay.
It's still under development, but it's a good first step again.
Absolutely.
They haven't mentioned about QBOA though, have they? And if it's going to be a, I mean, they've not upgraded you to the QBOA file yet, have they? So I suppose that's where it probably starts from. But it would be interesting to see if then in your team section, can you then assign roles there?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to be moving away from QBO accountant and having the advanced product because we don't know when the advanced QBO accountant is coming. My understanding is it's been rolled out in the US and there's been challenges and bugs, and that until they fix that, they won't roll it out any further. And I get, that's fine. So I'm happy enough to have a separate license. I always think if you can live and breathe a product in the day-to-day life, it's a lot easier to support your clients in using it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a major advantage anyway in having the. Although I do use it, I don't see a major advantage other than a saving of a license in having the firm's file in the QBOA screen rather than just as a normal license. I can't see any advantage to that really.
Yeah, a couple, don't you, of like create a new client and then you appear in QuickBooks already, and there's that sort of thing. But yeah, it's not.
The problem is though, if you've got someone who's not an ongoing client, you just raise one invoice to them, suddenly they're appearing in every list of clients and things like that. It's actually more of a disadvantage.
Yeah, definitely. All right, okay. So love QuickBooks Advance. That's not going to change anytime soon. Really excited to get more involved in it. Let's just hope we can get some of the features up and running so that we can start really pushing it, ready for the full launch, which we don't know the exact date of the full launch yet. I don't think that's public knowledge. Soon it is public knowledge, we will let everyone know. Okay, let's bring on to our next, because it was, what was it, 1 week and we had two software announcements coming through. It doesn't get much better than this, does it? Now this particular one though is the opposite end of the scale. So QuickBooks decided to announce and bring out QuickBooks Advance, which is all about making sure that the higher end businesses have got the opportunity. And then Xero brought out their new product called ZeroGo, which is free, exclamation mark or asterisk, should we say, piece of software to make sure that small businesses, so we're talking the smallest small, under the VAT threshold, one income stream sort of idea, and it's got a software for them to utilize and to go forward. So here it is on screen, as you can see. It's it's an app that you download off the site, have nothing to pay for to actually download the app or to get access to the app at all. And then from here you can, like you can with a lot of software, take photos, bring that information in. You can look at reports and see how reports are doing. And you can then invite an accountant and go from there. You can do everything that you would ever need to free of charge, apart from actually receive money and have income. So at that point, then they charge you, which I'm not 100% sure how that's a free model, but however they want to sell that. In fairness to them, when you do send the invoices out, they do have some neat features that if we're comparing this to QuickBooks Self-Employed, doesn't have the ability to say how that invoice is going to be paid. So you can actually put payment options on there and bring that information in. So overall, it's a very simple piece of software to use to run expenses or run smallest of small clients on. You guys had any chance to have a play around with it or look at it? What's your kind of thoughts on it so far?
I've not downloaded it. I try not to download scams onto my phone. No, I think it's fair to say we have not been the biggest fans of QuickBooks Self-Employed in the past, mainly because it's just with one unconscious thought, you can outgrow it in the thought of, I'm going to take out a loan and all of a sudden you need a balance sheet and self-employed isn't right for you and you can't upgrade like you can all the other products in QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, marketing people telling me something's free unless I want to actually properly use it, it does my head in. It really does. I think it just shows everything you need to know about a company's culture and ethos. So yeah, ZeroGo, it's free, it's great, unless you want to bill anyone through it. So is it actively encouraging cash in hand? Well, if you're that kind of person, would you be tracking anything through Xero or QuickBooks for that matter anyway? So yeah, it's hot air and a bit of a letdown really. And overall, I think QuickBooks Self-Employed actually runs circles around it, which I never thought I'd see a day where we'd find a software that does.
I know, right? I know. Charlie, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, let me be controversial. For the first time that I can remember, I'm going to disagree with Johann. I don't think I've ever disagreed with Johann before. I worship every word that normally comes out of your mouth, Johann, but let's have a go. Now, I've not actually used it, so I am talking from a position of ignorance of the product. But the idea of being free unless you want to do certain things, I think is great. I love that. There's loads of things are freemium. I mean, Spotify's done pretty well out of a freemium model. Plenty of people, millions and millions of people around the world use Spotify for free, but you can't choose what song you want to listen to. You've got to have listen to a sort of radio station like Genre, where you get interrupted with adverts and all the rest of it. And it works very well and makes people very happy. There's plenty of businesses that don't raise invoices, but that legitimately run a business, receive money.
Account to this either.
What's that, yeah?
You can't connect a bank account to it either.
Oh, now that's a bad thing. Okay. If you can't get to bank account, okay, well, I'll take it all back. I'm back to
There's no way of tracing any income.
I'm back to worshipping you. If you can't get to bank account, then it's stupid. No, then I would agree with you. But assuming you're right, because the bank account is at the heart of all of this stuff. It's absolutely at the heart of all of MTD for it. Well, obviously, this is for MTD for ITSA. Yeah. And connecting the bank account is at the heart of it. And I'm still believing and hopeful that the quarterly updates in MTD for ITSA are, to be honest, in many cases, just going to be make sure your bank is still linked and make sure that the client has sort of vaguely made a half-hearted attempt to do something in the quarter, and then you just hit file. And at the year end is when we come in and actually do the work that we do at the moment. But if you can't connect the bank account, then it seems utterly pointless. But far be it from me to say to disagree with you, but it does seem a rather fundamental omission if it can't connect a bank account.
Just before Xero try and sue me, which wouldn't be the first software company trying to slander.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you cannot connect a bank account.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do not know if you will be able to when this is meant to go live in 2023 in April, I think it was. Was it 2024? Okay. And I do not know if in the future you'll be able to connect a bank account for free of charge. But at this moment in time, you cannot connect a bank account and you cannot send out sales data without paying for the privilege.
Yep.
So you can't send out sales data. You mean you can't send a sales invoice, yeah?
Yeah.
Unless you subscribe to the app.
Yeah, no, again, there are plenty of businesses that I've got clients who obviously they're not VAT registered, but they don't send sales invoices because they're not VAT registered. It's not so required. They do work. People pay them. It goes into their bank account. They're not cash businesses. They don't have a penny in cash. It all goes through their bank account. And at the end of the year, they present me with a spreadsheet that lists the name of everybody that's paid them, how much they paid them, and when they paid them. They don't have any debtors because their income is when they get paid. And that would, again, subject to, because you think a bank feed, that would suit this business very well. And if they did have a bank feed, then their income is simply just link the bank to this product, and every bit of income, every banking is income, and that's it. So actually, I'm going to be far be it for me to praise Xero, but actually, if they have a bank feed or when they get a bank feed, I can't believe they won't have one. It seems pretty good to me from that. But again, I haven't looked at the product, but just the principle.
But for it to be good, it needs the bank feed.
Yeah.
And for them to honour the free bit, I would argue that bank feed needs to be as part of the free package, not the paid package.
Oh, that should definitely, yeah. I mean, like open banking should, I mean, everybody should be desperate to get information from banks and provide that for free. So I would agree with you completely.
My lawyers stopped sweating in the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike did put it up quite pointful there. Says it sounds a tad pointless. So yeah, I think that's correct. Now, my biggest bugbear is the bank thing that we've already mentioned. I just don't see how or why you would ever need the solution for just expenses, because for my clients that, you know, maybe just starting out and they're setting their business up, and that's what I assume that the target audience is, right. If you're not making any money, then don't pay for your software. So then you can kind of build up. But surely most of those sort of companies there want to be VAT registered, or would benefit from being VAT registered if it's a big, you know, startup phase that they're going through and they're looking to, you know, go off with a bang, and they've got a lot of development costs and all that sort of stuff. They're the ones you typically see as a slow build, you know, maybe a couple of years of no income before they start coming through. Well, they're going to have to be VAT registered, aren't they? So, or majority of the time they're VAT registered. So I just don't see the target orders for the freemium model. I can't get my head around it. Things I like about it.
Small unregistered sole traders, no?
You what, sorry?
Small non-VAT registered sole traders who are going to turn over 20. Huh?
No income though. That's what I'm saying for the freemium.
No, income. But they'll have, if they're earning 20,000-30,000 a year, they don't want to be paying for.
Yeah, but then they've got to pay for the subscription. So again, if you pay for the subscription, I get it. Like, you're going to pay for the subscription. So I just don't understand why they're offering this free version, and their marketing is all about this new free app that's, you know, that's brilliant. It's the free bit that gets me, because it's not free. There's a subscription, a very small subscription. I mean, it's $5 a month or something. It's brilliant, you know, great costing and everything else, but it's not a free product.
I'd also challenge their preface on my own experience. So even today, I was speaking to a client who he has QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And all he uses it for is sending invoices. Like, that's great. Now let's teach you how to do your expenses and your bank feed and stuff. But you know what? That's a really good start. But most people, I've never met anyone that only uses QuickBooks to track expenses. They always, if they're only doing one thing in it, it's income.
Yeah, because they want to get paid. They want to get paid, exactly.
And if I only wanted them to track in expenses, I'd just give them a free Dex license.
Yeah, exactly.
Which does the photographing and reading of stuff 10 times better than I've seen ZeroGo to be able to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot more efficient from our point of view. Like, the amount of clients we get that come in with their bank statements at the end of a year, they've been using Dex all year. So we've already got semi-processed receipts all sat there ready to go. Whack in the bank statements, whack in the receipts. All of a sudden, we've got a load of matches. Happy days.
Yeah. You're off to the races then, aren't you? It's a straightforward job for us. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the one thing they've got right in this, I'd say, is if you look at it from a browser point of view as an accountant. So the client has no browser opportunity with ZeroGo. They can't log in as a user. But as an accountant, you're going through in this, and it basically looks like a standalone Xero license. You know, you've got your reporting, you've got your connections to anything else you might want to, like your accounts production software and all that sort of stuff. That I like, because that is one of the frustration things about QuickBooks Self-Employed for us as accountants. We've almost got to learn a whole second solution that is always limiting for us, and we can't add it to our accounts production software. We can't, help with our billing. There's a whole load of reasons why it's frustrating in that one. So I applaud them for that bit, because I think then ZeroGo becomes part of the Xero ecosystem that they can just, it becomes an easy decision. Whereas for us, you've got to twist my arm a lot of times for me to go, right, yes, you can have QuickBooks Self-Employed, because majority of the time I'll just go, no, you're going on Simple Start. It's that sort of solution, isn't it? So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, yeah, they needed something at ZeroCon to talk about, and hey, I mean, they got 20 minutes of our time out of it, so it worked.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, I think the drawing board needs to go back in the bin.
Well, I mean, assuming they add the bank fee, then is that not going to fix a lot of those problems?
But do you get the bank feed in the free product, or do you have to pay?
Yeah. No, no, no. If they had the bank fee for free, obviously. Yeah.
Xero, they won't.
Well,
The only thing at Xero that's got a zero in is its name.
It does confuse me as well, because they sell these fancy £1 licenses, like, is it some category only licenses or something? So I don't know where that fits in the ecosystem now.
Oh, on their
Xero Cashbook, is it?
Yeah.
What was that, sorry?
Xero Cashbook or Xero Ledger, whatever
That's
they call
it,
it.
Cashbook. Yeah, it's Ledger.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's not client facing, is it? It's supposed to be just for internal use. But either way, it muddies the water, in my opinion. But at least, you know, with QuickBooks Self-Employed seeming like it's staying around now, they've done some rumblings about that one. Then maybe, you know, having a rival to it might mean that it's taken a little bit more seriously and there's a little bit more love to go for it, and hopefully we get a better product out of it. The thing.
It turns QuickBooks Simple Start into effectively the self-employed version, don't they, really? Because it needs to have an upgradable version, exactly as Johann said earlier. If you can't upgrade it, then it's not a good product to be putting people on.
Yeah, if you can upgrade QuickBooks Self-Employed, then there's quite a lot of clients I would probably recommend it to for the first 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Because,
exactly.
but it's, I think COVID showed everyone how important it is that we have a balance sheet feature. Because all these self-employed people that would never have considered a loan until it was dirt cheap and cheaper than your mortgage to borrow, suddenly went out and got a COVID loan, and we need a balance sheet to do a COVID loan.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the product we'd recommended wasn't fit for purpose.
Yeah.
But if they turn around and then it was an easy just tick, you know, upgrade to this, we would never have had an issue, and it would probably have a higher standing in our opinion today.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
And I know they're looking into a migration option, but it's almost too little, too late, isn't it? And on that subject as well, I mean, I had a client, and it's still one of the things that I can't get my head around, where we finally convinced them to go from QuickBooks Self-Employed to QuickBooks Online, because they had eBay accounts and Amazon, and they were connecting them all up and all this and the other. And within 6 months, they says, no, I need to go back to QuickBooks Self-Employed. I just can't handle it. And I don't understand what's going on. So then we had to push him back over. And it was that simplicity, isn't it? All they're having to do is they can see their bank and they're going yes or no or whatever it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, my mum, bless her, she didn't do technology, but she had QuickBooks Self-Employed.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah, she was quite happy with it. So, until I had to.
But there's no reason why that Tinder approach can't be in the full, you know, cut down version of the full product.
I still don't think we should call it the Tinder approach, but yeah.
I don't think we call it.
Can we not? Okay.
No.
In America, though, that whole process, that whole kind of view and taste of it being in one single line, that is in the American product. So that probably is something they'll come over to us at some point, which will then make the QBO SE users have a much more of a feel for it. So quickly on to our next topic is just a bit of a
comment.
What was it?
Mike has just said he still needs to move data from self-employed to Simple Start. Have a look at Aaron's channel. He's got a fantastic video all about that.
I think it's the only way of doing it, because even QuickBooks won't do it now. They just walk away from it. Just a real quick one out there, just so people have a public service announcement. There was a bit of an email going around, a lot of fake emails being distributed from, or quote, from Intuit, designed to trick customers into thinking their account has been suspended. And the idea then was then they were going to grab your letters and information. Now, what I found really funny about this was, I suppose it's more of a, you just got to know the product inside out, is the people who send in this message were sending it from a solution called FlexMail. And if you know from QuickBooks point of view, they've recently acquired MailChimp. So I imagine if anything's coming from MailChimp, that's kind of a little bit more legitimacy around it. So pro tip, do your normal checks like you would normally do, but also just have a look and see if it's from MailChimp or not. So yeah, just a bit of a public service announcement. Apparently it's caught a lot of people off guard. In fact, I can quickly just show you what the email looked like. Look like this email here. You need to complete verification. So if you have seen that email, please ignore it and move on accordingly. Next one is a little bit naughty from Sage. So Sage themselves have been caught out a little bit. So back in the day, one of the things that Sage did offer, and we're talking 10 odd years ago when they offered this one as a way of being able to try and compete against the cloud accounting coming out there, was they gave opportunity for people to buy perpetual licenses. So they pay a one fee and it's supposed to survive for the rest of time. And we all know what security or what software's like and how everything's changing. We've got MTD, we've got everything else. So even the idea of perpetual licenses seems a little bit strange, a little bit dubious, doesn't it? But apparently Sage has had to kind of bite the bullet on this one, and they have had to go and try and find ways in which that they're not perpetual forever, but they were only for 15 years, not for life. So they're getting a lot of trouble in this one. Legal cases and all sorts are starting to come out that way. And you can understand why. I mean, the subscription costs I can see here on the screen, something like £650 per year. They were having to pay for certain solutions, and now they're being asked that although they're on perpetual licenses that last for a lifetime, they've got to start paying these figures to keep themselves safe and secure and MTD compliant. So yeah, it's kind of writing on the wall, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why would you sign up to a product, I suppose? Why would you sell a product, where you know it's going to need continuous improvement and development just to maintain security and modern tax requirements? Yes, you're going to get a nice 650 or whatever it is up front, and that's lovely. But that helps your cash flow today. It doesn't help you in 5 years' time when you've run out of customers because they've all got your free product.
Exactly right. Exactly. Charlie, were you surprised by this? Is this something you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, having again, I'm back to agreeing with Johann, which is as the status quo should be. Having a cloud product where you've got to provide, where the vendor has got to provide the infrastructure in perpetuity, and having just a one-off fee up front it does seem a rather daft decision. And I can't believe Sage, given how long they've been going and how big they have been for so many decades, have a problem with cash flow, or even if they did, that they couldn't borrow money more cheaply than selling a license that doesn't make sense. But there must have been something in the small print that allowed a get out. Otherwise, I think you said that there are people who are fighting this or suing them for it or something. But unless there's something in the small print, I don't see how they can.
In fairness to them, it wasn't cloud accounting; it was the old Sage 950s and those sort of desktop solutions. And I know they got around it originally by kind of selling modules. So it was a Making Tax Digital module. So yes, you can use the full software, but you'd have to pay to use the Making Tax Digital. And there was other modules that they were selling that you'd have to buy into, and you got your kind of your base model was free, but you had to pay for them but all that's changing, and it looks like that those perpetual licenses are no more. So okay, brilliant. Final topic of the day, though, just a bit of a kind of insight into the world of accountancy at the moment and what's going on. This is starting to do this doing the rounds at the moment, and this is from Accounting Web, and they've got themselves together a bit of a kind of database on what's happening in the world of software. They did a talk to a few people, and they've been able to kind of bring out this information that we've got in front of us. I just wanted to have a bit of a check for it, because for me personally, it feels like it's completely the opposite to what we were probably expecting. It may be the case that the people that were being asked the questions aren't quite in the same circles that we are, or whatever the case would be. But in my mind, I was expecting this to be in a different way around, especially that first box at the top there. So most frequently used software, we've still got the Sage, Xero, and QuickBooks. But what's interesting is that both Xero and QuickBooks are decreasing, while Sage is increasing. Now, Sage definitely needs to increase. They've got to go from zero to something, haven't they? So there's definitely an opportunity there to go up. Xero and QuickBooks decreasing. Would anyone kind of say why or how that could be the case? Is there something we're missing?
it says most frequently used software, so it's not specifically accounting or bookkeeping platform. They haven't broken it down. So is it possibly that Sage, they're including all of the other?
They're saying that they're the three most frequently used ones, but if they look at the data in a little bit more detail, even though they're the three most frequently used, which we'd expect, it actually seems that Sage is gaining momentum while the other two are losing momentum, is what it suggests.
Yeah, but is that because they include within Sage, for example, Go Proposal? So therefore, if I've got a Sage product and Go Proposal, is that am I using it doubly as much as using Xero? But I don't know. I mean,
the Sage ecosystem as opposed to
possibly.
I think we also need to look at what COVID's happened. After COVID, the people I have seen having the biggest stands, the most people, spending the most money at any accounting event I've been to is Sage. I would be, if I was Sage leadership and I didn't see that result after the amount of money they must have poured into the market in the last year or two, I would say they have problems. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing that Sage gaining ground. I think it'd be interesting to see what percentages QuickBooks and Xero are losing. Okay, Sage gained 4% and QuickBooks and Sage have lost 2% each. Is it a big swing? No. But yeah, I'm not overly surprised to see Sage having a resurgence after the amount of money they've poured into both the marketing aspect and advertising of it. Because I'm seeing it on TV and radios now, like targeting small businesses, which Sage hasn't done in years. We're seeing them be the biggest, most well-attended stand at conferences. They seem to have had a roadshow which stopped at every single town and village in the UK, compared to most that just stop at 6. And to be fair to Sage, they have spent time and money on redeveloping and reinventing Sage, and they've spent a lot of money on acquisitions to try and bring those customers in to the fold of Sage. So I'm not overly surprised by it, but how long it will last, I don't know. And
for the future of QuickBooks, we need that Xero and Sage to keep going forward, and we need that innovation, don't we? So it's a good thing, and from the people who kind of still have that nostalgia for it, there's probably still a nostalgia factor for Sage itself in terms of it's what people feel comfortable using. It's got that name, it's got that reputation, hasn't it? So yeah, I can definitely see why there's an increase on it, and good on them, and I think that's good. I just don't see how or why both Xero and QuickBooks are showing as a decrease. It just doesn't make sense to me. If anything, that all three of them should be increasing. There's more adoptions needed because of MTD and everything else that's going with it. I was just surprised more than confused, I think, to see that. But we don't know what the data's from or anything. It was just
is it a decrease in market share or decrease in users?
Exactly.
Maybe Sage have just secured more of the market share, but everyone's user numbers have gone up.
That could well be it, couldn't it? Increasing use of Sage, I assume that's more practice management side of it. Accounting Manager, which we like to see in Tax Calc, that all makes sense, doesn't it? Decreasing usage of, again, why Xero there? That doesn't make sense. Unless it's about the ability that, or the reason that they want to bring in the fact that, I can't get my head around it, because Xero shouldn't be losing market share at this point in time. BrightPay as well. I thought BrightPay was probably the payroll solution that people would jump to first. We don't use it. Yeah.
I think it will be interesting to see what these look like next year, or whenever it is after BrightPay does go cloud-based. I think, from what I understand,
will it?
BrightPay are aware that they're a bit late to this party, and that's why they're losing to the likes of KeyPay, etc. And
then the other takeaways from here really is the data expense management. Were you guys aware of Counting Up? That's kind of come out of the nowhere for me.
I've known of them for a couple of years. it was a very much like a coconut concept.
Yeah.
Of,
Yeah.
we'll give you a self-employed person a bank account, the ability to do QuickBooks Self-Employed, but with a bank account.
Yeah.
And then they've built out CIS, and I want to say they've built out VAT as well. But I could be completely wrong there. I can't remember. But yeah, no, they've done quite well at a lot of awards. Counting Up have, both in the banking industry and in the accounting industry. So
yeah,
unlike Coconut, they do have a bank account, and its founder Tim Foraker was the guy who set up ClearBooks, so he's got history in this space.
Are they not dropping the bank though, Coconut? But yeah, that's one thing different topic.
Coconut doesn't have bank anymore.
Yeah, dropping that, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So, any more points on this one? I just thought it was interesting that it was more that top left-hand corner that threw me. But yeah, I think the rest of it kind of self-explanatory. These likely, isn't it? So, although Iris payroll software, who knew that was still around? I thought that went a long time ago. And how can that be increasing? I don't know. It must be a pound a license or something that's getting them into that one. Yeah, brilliant. All right, awesome. And I think we are done. And look at that for timing, gentlemen. Look at that for timing. So before I go on to the end parts of here, do you guys want to go through and just give us a bit of an indication of where the audience can find you and anything that you've got coming up in the next few weeks? Charlie, you want to go first?
Sorry, which one of us did you say?
Charlie.
Oh, me. Okay, fine. So yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook group for QuickBooks Pro Advisors. Just look for QBOA user group on Facebook and join that. If you do join, I would ask you just to answer the 2 little questions it asks. We do try to make sure that we get pro advisors and the kind of people that we can help within the group. But I look forward to seeing you there.
Nice one. Johann?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel that I dump an occasional video on. Done one about how to check your national insurance record. As I've asked about 3 times in the space of a week, I thought I'd do a video on that.
Brilliant. And for me, YouTube is always the best place to go and have a look for myself. I've got some really interesting videos coming up, including a couple to do with Zettel, back in the Zettel side of things as well. A couple more advanced videos I've got planned as well. And I'm doing an interesting video on Cresco as well, where we're going to see what's quicker. Me actually sending $20 from the UK to contact in the US, or me getting on a plane with $20 and getting there. So we're going to see which one gets there faster, and then how much.
Are you becoming the Jeremy Clarkson of the accountancy world? It's very much.
I'm racing open banking.
Yeah. What? That sounds brilliant.
I'm looking forward to doing like little things of the progress of each one, and then the cost as well. So which one's cheaper? Is it getting on a plane to get there and deposit £20, or is it using Cresco? So interesting. You know, which one will possibly be cheaper?
Your YouTube ads must be doing exceptionally well, mate. Yeah. To be able to pay for this stuff.
Yeah. No, he's just signed a deal with Netflix, hasn't he? And he's got $20 million off them to do this.
Netflix brings you the QuickBooks channel.
Keep your eyes out for that one, and we'll see. Because I don't know who's going to win. I've not filmed it yet, so you know, even I'm going to be shocked at which one's going to win on that one. Brilliant. So thank you very much, everybody. As always, we will be back next month, should I say, hopefully for the 4:30 slot, if that's the one that we are going to try and find a way to get a sort of survey out to everyone who listen, to try and figure out when the time is going to be best to go live. And we want to try and find a time that works. But we're going to get aim for that 4:30. Again, remember, if you're listening via podcast, do try and follow us on the Facebook feeds or however social media channel you are, and see if you can get an opportunity to see us live. And we're hoping to be back for the first Wednesday of next month. I haven't looked, so I don't know what that date is. I'm probably best not saying it out loud now. I'll just keep on the socials if I was you. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Hopefully Ash is back next week as well, because we definitely need to find out what happened in the world of America, because we've been on tender hooks. Thank you. That's there. Thank you to everyone who's been joining in and contributing in the chat. And we will see you all in a month's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.